Wonderful track built by Brandon Schaefer, one of our customers. We use it for photo shoots mainly. It's a one-lane track. It's State Route 20, and the little town of Concrete, Washington. As you can see, there's a lot of traffic on the streets of Concrete, Washington, both 1/24 and 1/32 scale right now. Anyway, that's just a little bit. Okay, we head on in. Here is our 8-lane. For anybody that's been in the building in the last year or so, while COVID was really hitting us hard, this was more of a workbench than it was a track. But it is back operating as a track again now. And we've still got a lot of clearing up to do, a lot of inventory boxes. We found during COVID that we do a lot more shipping than we do running on the tracks, and that is really alive. But we will continue to race on Saturday, and the store is open for people to book events on the track in hour-long blocks. And so that's the 8-lane. And so we're getting ready for the 24-hour. I'm up on a driver's stand. This is what you see on the 8-lane. Hopefully all the boxes and that you're seeing scattered around will disappear. Have to find a box fairy or a magician. Okay, and this is the 6-lane. 6-lane's been active the whole time, and we've carried on racing on the 6-lane, except for a short period where we shut down completely, except for shipping. We've been running with masks, which I think is a sensible thing to do. And but for the 24-hour, we'll run. It's at your discretion if you're coming. We encourage you to wear a mask if that's what makes you feel comfortable. We bought some very good masks that we'll gladly give out to people. The first mask I found where my glasses don't mist up. They pinch really tightly on your nose. I got some from Multicare when I was in there for a checkup, and then I went and bought some, which we'll have available. Well, 6-lanes already. It's been run on. It's nicely rubbered in. We don't run silicone tires. You can see by the black on the track surface. We don't put any bite or tire grip or spray glue on the tracks. This is all just rubber built up over the years. The 8-lane's a little bit looser right now, but it won't take long to come back in. We didn't clean the rubber off, but it kind of dried out a little bit in the 2 years it was being used as a storage bench. Anyway, so this is the 6-lane. We'll be running on both tracks tonight. We'll stream this live, probably just from my phone, but we are setting up a new streaming system. Oh, this is the driver's stand, and the 24-hour is 14 lanes. You run all 14 lanes of the track, 6 lanes and 8 lanes. There aren't 14 teams. We would like there to be 14 teams if anybody still wants to join in, but we're over 8. Once you go over 8, we don't want to have sit-outs, so we'll run 14 lanes. And how that works, okay, down here is lane number 1. Lane number 1 is the inside lane here on the 8-lane track. From 1 you go to 3, which is two tracks over. From here you go to 5, and then you go to 7. You notice we do the rotation like they call a European rotation, like most commercial tracks, but we don't make you have to figure out where you go. You just keep moving one space. So, you know, like red, green, what is it, yellow? I can't remember the colours now. But anyway, you just keep moving down one space, and that does the rotation for you. Anyway, so normally when we were running the 8-lane, it would then go after 7, it would go 8, 6, 4 and 2, which gets you back to the inside. But for the 14 lanes for the 24-hour, after you get to 7, and it's 51 minutes on each lane, after you get to 7, you will come across here to 9. 9 is also 1 when we run it as a 6-lane. A little bit confusing. You'll get used to it. Anyway, so 9. and then it goes 9, 11, 13, and then you would come down here 14, 12, 10, and then you would go over here to 8, 6, 4 and 2. That would be after 51 minutes on each lane. That would be halfway through the 24-hour. Yay, that was quick. And then you would go back after 2, you would come back to 1 over here, and you would repeat. Everybody will run every lane twice, 51 minutes in each lane. Sounds like a lot, but after you get used to it and stop racing at sprint race pace where you're pumping your arm up so much, it really becomes quite enjoyable and a lot easier, and the tracks grip up and you get used to the track. And because then we have 6 hours of complete darkness when we turn all the lights off in the building and you race just by the lights in the cars. There you go, the cars. What are the cars? Well, until Thursday, November the 10th, no one will know what the cars are. We supply, for the $300 entry fee, we supply a brand new car, prototype of a new production from ScaleRacing BRM, and all the spares needed to run the race. And that's at 10 o'clock on the 10th. Then from 10 till 2, you start building your car and testing on the track. Cars are either in tech or on the track. They don't go anywhere else. You don't take it back to your toolbox. Not that there's any room for toolboxes around the track right now. Everybody will be pitted in the same area. There'll be tables set up down the corridor, and everybody will be building their cars in plain sight of everybody else. Only the tools that you get approved can be in there. No batteries, no tire machines, no truing tires, no breaking in motors. All of that has to be done on the track. We'll supply all the parts you need. Everybody gets the same amount of parts. If somebody, for whatever reason, breaks a wheel or something and needs an extra part, the race control will have extra parts that can be given out. But no one can add more to their package than what we supply. That way we don't have somebody with 20 motors and 40 sets of braid and guides and other people can barely afford to run the $300 race. Now the $300 is for up to 6 drivers. The first 4 are entered for free into the other sprint races, of which there'll be at least 3. There'll be a RevoSlot GT2 GT1 race. Now by I say GT2 GT1, we will run them together unless we have a significant number wanting to run just GT2s and just GT1s, in which case we'll run them separate. But even if we run them together, we score them separately. Now the GT2s run stock, and I do mean stock. You can blueprint. By that I mean you can Loctite screws, you can align axles, you can, on that class, you can have broken in a motor, and you can be ready to run. You can lightly true the front tires. You can't add any weight to the cars. Same in GT1, these same rules apply. And stock tires, you can set your gear mesh. Everybody runs the same gear mesh, or same gear ratio, sorry, and makes for a fun race. We clean the tires before the start of the race to make sure nobody's added any unusual concoctions or chemical mixes to the tires to make them super grippy, because we want it to be fair. We want it to be that it's the driver that wins, not some secret, or it's not credit card racing. The GT1s are the same, except for you run RevoSlot BRM sponge rear tires on the car. And we will be checking the ride height of the cars. They must have at least 1 millimeter of clearance at all times. All the cars running on our tracks must have 1 millimeter of clearance at all times. So it applies to this race as well. Then after the GT2 GT1 RevoSlot, we're going to be running, I think the next one is going to be BRM Group 2 and mini cars. Fantastic cars. If you've never run them, you should try them. The great thing about the BRM mini cars and the GT2s, sorry, not GT2s, Group 2s, is that they're small enough, even though they're 1/24 scale, they're small enough that they will run on even ScaleRacing tracks. They'll run even on 3-inch lane spacing. There's some of the RevoSlots. Some of these are long gone from stock. They're here just as a display to show the history of RevoSlot. We're proud to be their importer and distributor. and we aggressively support the Revo Slot brand. And then we move into, these are grouped, these are mini cars. There's a Mini, obviously that's a mini car. The Fiat over the back there, the Simcas, the Renaults, and then we get into the Group 2s, like the Escorts, BMW there. There's more Simcas, which actually are mini cars. The Alpha is a Group 2. More BMWs. The Opel over the back there, Group 2s. And those will be the next race. And that is, again, a stock race. We're running stock tyres. You can set the car up, but we're not looking for anybody adding spaces or removing spaces or creating excessive float in the axles to allow the front wheels to appear outside the bodywork. Wheels cannot appear outside the bodywork. And again, we're looking at for it to be about racing, not about someone having a secret car. There's one of them, one of the Fiats that I often lend to people. Great little car. A few others here. Should have put these on the track before I started videoing. There's an Escort. Again, fun cars. And I don't see any of the mini cars. Oh, here's one of the mini cars. How we denote the mini cars? The mini cars have the camber rear end, and it has to be fitted. The Group 2s have independent camber front end, and they have to be fitted and run stock. We will be checking. Every car is stock. Stock tyres. Again, you can lightly true the tyres, but you can't turn them down till they're rubber bands. Stock gear ratios, stock motors. So again, it's down to the driver. Then we'll be racing, and it'll probably be that's probably Thursday done, and we'll go back to building and testing and tuning for the 24-hour cars. Then that would close Thursday, if I remember correctly, subject to how schedules go and how people move through the program. And then on the Friday, again from 10 till 2, you'll get your cars back out of tech. They'll be locked up for the night, and you'll get your cars back out, and we will carry on building. For teams that hadn't been able to turn up on Thursday, turning up on Friday, they'll start their build. And everybody will get that from 10 o'clock till 2 in the afternoon again. And then we'll close the tracks. All the cars will be locked away again, close the tracks, and we will do an IROC race. And the IROC race is for this car. Now, this is a prototype, but they are now coming out, so I can show it. This is one of the older bodies, and that's a nice thing. There's a good point. The older bodies will fit on the new chassis. This is the prototype of the chassis, but that is the chassis. I'm not going to show you it on the inside right now, because I don't want to disclose anything that might give anybody any thought of an advantage for the 24-hour. Not that it's these cars in the 24 hours, because it's not. But these will be in one of the sprint races, the IROC sprint race, which BRM and myself, my company ScaleRacing, are supplying all the cars, 6 brand new cars for the sprint race, and there'll be a sprint race champion IROC for the new BRM reborn McLaren F1 GTR. And they will then do the Porsches as well, so we'll have that what they call GT90s series. And yes, there is also coming a chassis for the Group C. Now, it'll be a little bit later, but I can show you a tease. These were raced a few years ago in the 24-hour. If I can find it without scrambling through boxes while I'm live. Let me have a quick look and see if I can find it. Okay, doesn't appear to be in here. No, I can't find it right now, but I'll do another feed later on, or I'll show it when we're running the races tonight. But the Group C's are going to be coming back out, as are the classic Le Mans cars. You know, I think everybody loves those. We certainly know we want to get back out racing those again. Really, the reason why it hasn't happened is partially because of chassis design thoughts and principles changed. BRM and my company went with all metal, which was first done on the Trans Ams and then done on the Revo slots, and now we'll be on the McLarens and soon to be on Classic Le Mans and then on Group C. So things are moving on, and as their slogan is, think different, think metal, and I like it. They're small production run cars, so it's more affordable to make CNC machined parts for small production runs. And also they found, as we did, that with the nylon chassis, the Group C's, for example, are very fast, but you know they have mass, and when they crash, we saw breakage that was frustrating for us and for BRM, and also I'm sure for racers. You know, we don't want to keep having to replace chassis, although if you race for real and you're crashing, you're replacing more than, you know, a $20 chassis. But anyway, so we wanted to go away from that and make a more robust car, and so the CNC machine chassis on the Group C's, when it comes, will be a welcome addition, and they will fit the older cars. So we've always tried to do this. When we upgraded the Group C's from inline to angle winder, we made an affordable kit for modifying to convert them to angle winders. We did the same on the 917s when it went from a plastic chassis to a metal chassis, albeit still with a nylon pod, and the Classic Le Mans with a metal chassis with a nylon pod. We're well aware that the nylon pods caused some problems. It was all workable, but some people got frustrated that they had to shim one side of the chassis more than the other because of the distortion on the pod. We tried to fix it. BRM tried to fix it. In the end, they decided we're just going to go metal. We can make a good, robust metal chassis and be confident that it's good for racing and it won't frustrate people in setting them up. So that's why think different, think metal. The other reason why we haven't seen much come out from BRM, other than the mini cars, which have been and Group 2s, which have been very successful for them, is because Revo slot has taken up so much of their production time as that line has grown in the last 3 years or so. You know, now with the little, I think I have one around, or here's one. Now with the little rally cars, and yes, we know that there was an error in fitting the wrong pinion on the Escorts by comparison to the Alphas. The reason why is the motor's the same as in the GT1s and GT2s. And somebody in the production area picked up motors that had the 12-tooth pinions on them instead of the 9. That was rectified. If you bought a car through my distribution or dealers I've supported, we'll happily replace or get you a 9-tooth pinion, no matter where you bought it from. We support Revo slot. We will get you a pinion if you have one of the Escorts with a 12. Just get in touch with me and we'll help you. We're here to support the brand, support the hobby, and help it grow. So anyway, that's a little bit of banter about what's going on and about the 24-hour. So after the, I didn't mention Trans Am. We're hoping to do a Trans Am race as well, but I'm mindful that time may run out, depending on when teams turn up and how quickly they get their cars ready. Because obviously the 24 hours is the feature. The sprint races are extra fun and for people to learn the track more and for people to get together, you know, as a community and meet each other, race against each other, have fun. And that's the key word, have fun and have a good time. So lastly, on the Friday after the mini car race, wasn't it? Yeah, I'm not doing this from a script, as you can probably tell. I'm doing this just from memory and just to give some conversation to what's going on in a few weeks' time. Less than 2 weeks now, I think. After the Group 2 and mini car race, if we have time, we'll run a Trans Am race as well. And then the 24-hour cars will come back out for their final test and tune and qualifying. And I believe that's at 7 o'clock, I believe, or 7:30. And then we'll either go home, go back to our hotels, go out for a meal. Anybody who wants to go out, hopefully we'll get out of here at a reasonable time, because the 24-hour will start Saturday morning at 10 a.m. The cars will be gridded. Oh, one last thing. One thing which is very important. We found over the years that some people seem to think that another team might have done something creative. Let's use that word. There's a shorter word. But they may have done something that was outside of what the concept of the race was, which is to run the cars with stock component parts. So after qualifying, the cars will sit on the grid, and the team leader from each of the teams, it looks like we've probably got at least 9, maybe as much as 11 teams, although there is still room for up to 14. But anyway, the team leader from each of those teams can inspect the cars. Now that means look them over. Now if they think there's anything untoward, they can at that time for free make a protest. But that is the only time the protest will be free. After that, if you feel that somebody's doing something wrong or outside of the rules, one rule of which is that if there's a wing on the car, and I can't tell you whether there is, but the wing has to be on at all times. If the wing is not on and the team carries on after being told that they have lost their wing, then you can protest that. And that costs $50. If you uphold the process, in other words, if they carried on knowingly after they've been told you must pit, we will penalise them and give back the $50 to whoever filed the complaint. If they do stop, then you don't need to protest. If you think they're doing anything untoward, they've changed to a different set of tyres, or they somehow managed to smuggle a gear in, all of which I sincerely hope would never happen, you put your $50 up. And if you're right, you get your $50 back and the protest will be enforced. Yeah, and that way we don't get people leaving and then complaining afterwards online that something happened. I can't fix it afterwards. I can only fix it during the race. And the cars will be inspected at the end of the race, and I will randomly inspect the cars to comply with the 1mm ground clearance at my discretion throughout the race. I'll also be looking for body damage where wheels are showing. That's not allowed. You'd have to tape back up that piece of body if you'd lost it. The major thing is, must have all the body. If there is a rear wing, it must have a rear wing. We're not looking for mirrors. In fact, I encourage people not to fit mirrors, because that really is just, they end up in the slot. Headlight lenses, tape over them a little bit, but don't tape over them completely, because you're going to need lights. There's 6 hours of darkness, and during those 6 hours you must have at least one working headlight and one working tail light. If you don't, you will be called in to fix it. If at any time you're called in to fix something and you don't, we will at first dock you 10 laps. If you still don't come in, we'll dock you the heat. You really don't want to do that. Corner workers, each team qualifies, and from that qualifying, first we will allow people that have people on their team that have some inability to get into the tight spots. That's the bridge over there, going to that high bridge there, and also this narrow spot over here. We'll allow them to pick first if they've got somebody that can't get in there for whatever reasons, because we don't want to make it a corner worker can't do their job, because that won't help. From then on where you qualified, you will choose which corner you get. You have that corner for the whole race. That way, if anything happens, it is down to your team. You may get somebody else to help you on the corner. If you have to go to the bathroom and there's nobody else, in the centre in the middle of the night, but you're responsible. If they then leave, that person you got to help you, they leave, you're the one that gets penalised. And we will be pretty aggressive with penalties if people don't corner work. Yeah. We want it to be fun, and it's no fun if people aren't corner working, because that's just as important as the racing, if not more important, because the race, just like real races, they don't go well without good marshals, without good people working for the safety of the drivers, or in this case, the cars. I mean, as we saw at the Suzuka Grand Prix, there could have been a horrific accident when they put a tractor out on the track. That was dumb. We try to discourage people being dumb. Watch your corner. Don't get involved in long conversations while you're corner working, because that distracts A, the drivers, and B, yourself. Just all the things to make it fun, fair, and something that everybody enjoys. Anyway, that's enough rambling. My streaming live. Oh, I got 3 people watching, and 2 of them gave me a thumbs up. Okay, your $20 will be in the mail when I find out who you are. No, I'm joking. It was only 10. That's it. Tonight at 7 o'clock, I'll fire up some sort of feed here on YouTube Live, and I don't know whether I have both tracks visible or just one of the tracks, but you'll see some racing and some of our local people testing. They're not testing the 24-hour cars. They don't even know what they are. They're running. They might be running some of the other cars that are run in the sprints, mini cars, Group 2s. We're not running Revo slots tonight. Tonight is a Formula One race, because it's real Formula One. The US Grand Prix, one of the US Grand Prix, one of the 2 this year and 3 next year. So we race every Grand Prix weekend. We race on the Saturday night before the Grand Prix, unless I'm out of town for an event. We race the race of that weekend. So it will be the US Grand Prix, and unbeknownst to some of my drivers, I think we're going to run it on 14 lanes to get them used to this rotation, because many of the people that are racing Formula One with us are going to be on different teams for the 24-hour. So they get used to it. That way, when we start the real race, if they've got other people who aren't used to it, they can help them as well. Because it's about us all helping each other. It's about finishing the 24 hours and having a good time. What we'll also be racing, we'll also be racing the TTS Formula 2 cars. If anybody's never seen those. The first one, the Formula 1, we're running the wonderful slotted, I think they're under the Polycar brand, but the wonderful slotted, these cars, and they are stunning. They're great fun. And obviously they lend themselves to decoration. I mean, some guy there has been very lazy. Not much of a decoration there. I wonder who that is. Okay, it's me. That's my car, I'm afraid. I don't have time to decorate cars. But there's a 3 of the cars that will be running tonight. So that's the first race. Then the second race is these, and I love these. TTS, they used to be a partner with BRM. They're no longer. They're on their own. A little company, like BRM are a little company. And I love these in part because they have working steering. Now, I know on a slot car that really doesn't theoretically help you, but it looks cool. And also, you've got to protect it. You've got to drive it. If that hits the wall, you know, you're going to have a bent steering arm, just like a real car. These are fun. So we're running those, and we run them stock, except for we do run hard Scale Auto rear tyres on the rear. So as again, we've got a control tyre. And then tonight we are going to run the mini cars as our last class. So we'll have minis and Alphas and BMWs and Fiats. And that's what's going on tonight in the build up to the 24-hour. So check back tonight if you can. If you know anybody that is close to in the area or wants to come out for the 24-hour, for the sprint races, if you're not in the 24-hour, it's $20 a race. If you're in the 24-hour, the first 4 people entered in the 24-hour for a team, those sprint races are free. And then, you know, you get that car. So $300 for the 24-hour, but you do get a brand new prototype car, which you've got to race in the race. So it may not look brand new afterwards. But, you know, one of only, I think we have 12 cars allocated, but if we don't have 12 teams, I'll hold the others back. Just use as test cars until the production comes out of whatever that car may be. And yeah, I can't think of anything else right now. If you do know anybody that's in the area that wants to come race, I know there are teams that, we have one team that's coming from California, and they're the only driver. We will find them drivers, but certainly if we've got people that want to be involved, it's not too late. You know, if it's people chipping in to form a team, $50 a person would get you, you know, the $300 for the team. Come on down. You know, racing's fun. People often say to me, how come we don't have big races in America? Well, we do, but it just takes you, the racer, the fan, the slot car racer, to attend to make them big races. And I realize that America's a big country. I was in LA on Monday. I was in Portland a couple of weeks ago. I was back down at Laguna Seca a few weeks before that, trying to promote this hobby, trying to get slot car racing out in front of people. And still, when I fly, and people ask me what I do, I say I import, distribute, wholesale and retail slot cars. They're like, what are slot cars? Or they say, oh, those little things about an inch long. I'm like, no. These are 1/32 and 1/24 scale, highly detailed model cars that can be raced on a track. They're like, wow, that must be really expensive. I'm like, no, it's not. You know, these cars are what, under $100, as are the Revo slots. A little bit more when you've got the sponge tires on them, but not much. I mean, that's 90 plus the sponge tires are 20. That's 110. You know, they're 90 for the Trans Am era ones, and also for the GT2s. These are 100 and they're up to about 150, maybe 160 now. Aluminum's gone up, or even aluminium has gone up in price, and shipping's gone up in price. But it's still, yes, it's not the cheapest car in the world, but they don't require much work. I mean, this car here has been run ever since it came out on the same tyres. We did fit the racing tyres on them, which were a little bit lower profile. Same compound, but a little bit lower profile. Same tyres. That's got to be at least 3 or 4 years. I see David from BRM was just flashing in there. Yeah, motors last for a long time. They're $20 motors. It's not an expensive hobby once you bought the car. These here, that one obviously I painted. You can tell, you know it's my decoration because it just has stickers. It's a $160 car. This is a $180 car decorated. These are 65 plus decals. Gets you at about 80, 85. So under 100 for the 1/32 scale, and 150 to our top of the line would be when we're racing Scale Auto 1/24, which we're not racing today, but even those, they're about 200, just over $200 set up to race. And I have cars that I've been racing for at least 4 years on the same motor, same gears. We change braid every now and then, and we change rear tires every now and then. And that's about it. It's not expensive once you've bought the car. Anyway, that's it. Okay, get on with your day. Soccer's finished, I think. I don't know if baseball's on now. Formula One qualifying's on. I think there's a last practice coming up soon, maybe in about 15 minutes. And then qualifying, I think it's at 3 o'clock West Coast time. What's that? That's 5 o'clock out in... Really, is it 5 o'clock in Texas? That seems late for qualifying. I hope the sun doesn't go in. Anyway, that's it. See you back here at 7 o'clock tonight, our time, West Coast. We're in Tacoma, near to Seattle, coffee country. And yeah, we won't talk about the Mariners or the Seahawks. Bye for now.